Welcome to Unplugged Voices, where we slow down and listen to our real thoughts beyond the noise. I'm super excited and honored to have a very special guest on our podcast today. None other than His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Delighted to be here.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for joining us today. Prabhuji is a renowned speaker, author, and mentor to millions of people. We are very fortunate to have him on our show. Prabhuji has shown us how ancient wisdom is still relevant in the modern world. So today, we'll be asking questions from a Gen Z's perspective. So Prabhuji, our first question to you. So Prabhuji, Gen Zs, they live with a constant noise. Notifications, opinions, corrections, comparisons. And in the Gita, Arjun's mind was also overwhelmed on the battlefield. So Prabhuji, how does Gita explains mental overload?
That's an interesting correlation. First of all, I appreciate you taking this initiative to present spiritual wisdom to contemporary audiences, especially the Gen Z.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
It's a very important initiative. And so specifically, the Gita focuses on addressing mental overload broadly in three ways. First of all, understanding what is the mind. Second is how the mind works or how it should work for us. And thirdly, how it can start working against us. So let's take out all these three things.
Okay.
What the Gita says is the mind is the intermediate level of reality in our inner world.
Okay.
And so our existence is three level: body, mind, and soul. It's like a computer system where you have the hardware, software, and user. The body is like the hardware, the mind is like the software, and the soul is the user.
Okay.
So now the mind is meant to act as a link between us and the outer world. And it is a transmitter of information. So for example, say I'm talking with you now. Right now there's some background, there's some lights, there's some scenery, there's so many other things in the studio. But say if the stimuli from the outer world, when they come, they go through the eyes, through the mind to the soul. And then the soul processes them.
Right.
So at one level, the mind is a transmitter.
Yes.
But the mind is not just a passive transmitter. The mind is also a transformer. That
Correct.
means it has certain impressions inside it by which some stimuli are highlighted. So for example, we might be talking and suddenly behind somebody's screams, hey, there's fire. Then that should be highlighted by our mind. Hey, that's the most important thing to pay attention to. Let's get out of here.
Right.
So the mind also acts as a transformer. So because the world is extremely complex and so much information comes to us at all times. Right now itself when we are sitting, the touch sensation coming, there is some smell of this room, some pleasant smell, there's an ambience of this room, so many stimuli coming.
Yes.
So which to focus on, that's something what the mind highlights. So if you consider, there are many notifications on our phone.
Right.
But if something is, your phone is about to get discharged, then it should not just be a small notification, it should just pop up and come big so that we'll do something about it.
Right.
So now this is the way the mind should work. But the mind, while it's meant to be a transformer, it can become a distorter or a deformer. What does that mean? That means some stimuli which are not important, they become maximized.
Right.
And stimuli which may be important, they get minimized. And that's when, say if somebody is driving a car and at the same time they're trying to text someone. And now somebody runs across the road.
Right.
At that time, the full focus should go, oh, there's somebody here on the road. That should get maximized.
Yeah.
But if they're too caught in the phone, they may not even notice and they may hit someone.
Yeah, that's right.
So basically, that's when the mind starts malfunctioning.
Right.
So in general, when somebody gets depressed, feels insecure. So at that time, what is happening? The mind is malfunctioning. So everybody faces setbacks in life. Everybody faces losses in life. So for example, somebody may face a loss.
Okay.
It could be a loss in an exam, loss in an interview, loss in a relationship. But if they face a loss, the mind maximizes it too much. Then it won't be just, I have lost. It'll become, I am a loser.
Okay.
And then when you are a loser, you are never going to amount to anything in life. Then the person will be overwhelmed by insecurity, inferiority, low self-esteem, even suicidal ideation.
Right.
So now, applying this to the Gen Z is the first generation that is what we can say digital native right from the beginning of their life.
Birth, yeah.
So now what happens is scrolling is just natural. But now there's this whole phenomenon of doom scrolling where, oh, this went wrong over here, that went wrong over there, that went wrong over there. So there's this constant connectedness because of that, the Gen Z is often much more socially aware than previous generations. Socially conscious, socially aware, and they may also try to become socially responsible because of that. But there is only so much we can process.
Right.
And if constantly this is wrong over there, then that is wrong over there, and that is wrong over there, and that is wrong over there. If we keep doom scrolling, then we become incapable of seeing what is right in life. What is right in our life, what is right in the world, and then the mind becomes a distorter. So we can become very pessimistic, very negative, hopeless, sometimes very cynical. In America and other places, I met some youth. They just know they have conspiracy theories about everything.
Okay.
And they just have lost any sense of positive regard for any institution, any forum, any thought system. It's a very sad way to live.
Sad way.
So I think that's where the mind, so to manage, to complete the answer to what does the Gita say about managing a mental overload? It says two things. Regulate the stimuli coming in from outside.
Okay.
And change the impressions in your mind so that the right stimuli get magnified, not the wrong stimuli. So it's like there is outer regulation,
okay,
and there is inner purification. So by these, each one of us can better engage with our mind and engage with the world through our mind.
What a beautiful thought. So outer regulation and inner purification.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Coming to our next question. So, Prabhuji, many Gen Zs today, they define themselves with their marks, with their looks, with the followers they have, or maybe the kind of approvals they are getting from their parents, from their friends, specifically, or teachers. So, Prabhuji, how does Gita redefine identity beyond performance and validation?
Yeah. The identity, there are two things. There is our identity and there is our identification.
Okay.
That means, what do I identify with? So each of us at one level have many identities.
Right.
Say we are males or females, we are young or middle-aged or elderly, we are middle class, upper middle class. We have so many different identities.
Right.
But some of these identities we identify more. Some of those we identify less with.
Less.
So for example, if somebody becomes a parent, they may still be a professional, but then that parent identity, that becomes very important.
Yeah.
I have to take care of my child. That becomes the most important thing in my life.
That's right.
So the idea is we have many different identities. Now the real question is that which identity do we identify with? So now we also have you could say we have a family identity, we have a professional identity. So now in the age of social media, we also have got like a social media identity. So now that is to some extent not so much in our control. We can post something, we can hope it will be trending, it will be viral, but we don't know. So now among our various identities, the validation in that identity on social media, that becomes the most unpredictable.
Unpredictable, right.
And when that becomes the most defining for a person, so then I post something and hardly anyone likes it. And my friend posted something and they got so many likes.
Yeah.
And what happens? People start taking it very personally.
Yes.
So now these are all functional identities.
Okay.
So I would say we always have had many functional identities, but in the social media age, you could say social media identity is one more identity which has been put, and that is very fragile, that is very vulnerable. That is where we are very vulnerable, I would say. And that creates a lot of anxiety and insecurity. That's why, especially among teenagers, increased social media usage is almost always associated with increased depression and insecurity and feelings of low self-worth.
Right.
So now, below all these functional identities that we have, based on our gender, our age group, our education, our profession, the Gita says underlying them is our fundamental identity. That is, we are spiritual beings, we are parts of God. As much as necessary. So for example, when I go to America, I go there for 2-3 months every year for giving talks. So there, it is that one of the main things I talk about is the fundamental identity as souls.
Okay.
But at immigration, if they ask me, where are you from?
Yes.
I'm not going to say I'm a soul.
Right.
I have an Indian passport.
Yeah.
So the point is, functional identity is also important. But over-identifying with the functional identity can become a problem.
That's right.
So I think to conclude this with our Gen Z, today society has become far more complicated. And many of the traditional structures and pathways that gave meaning and direction to people's lives are no longer functional. It could be something as simple as family. Families are breaking in the West, they are breaking in India also to some extent, unfortunately. So then, it's not just that sometimes older people feel, oh, today's youth are so difficult. They don't listen to us.
Right.
But actually, it's not just that they are being difficult. They are in difficulty. Because life has become so complicated and unstructured. How to move ahead?
How to move ahead.
So that's why through personal spiritual practice, if this is not just because the Bhagavad-gita is saying or because some spiritual guru is saying, just try it out yourself. Try to do some spiritual practices and experience the security and strength that comes from grounding your sense of identification first with your spirituality.
That's right.
And then you will experience the empowerment that comes from that.
Right. What a beautiful message for all the Gen Zs. Try it out yourself. Wow, I really like that, Prabhuji. So now we'll move on to the next question. So Prabhuji, these days, Gen Zs, they're extremely hard on themselves. So one mistakes and, it feels like the end. So Prabhuji, which Gita principle helps a young person recover from failure without self-hate?
Yeah. Two distinct things, I would say. So the Gita talks about the three modes of material nature, sattva, rajas, tamas. And these modes can be understood in different ways. But one simple way to understand it is like they are three gears. If you put the car in a particular gear, it will move in a particular way.
Right.
So sattva is associated with clarity. So we think calmly and analyze and understand. Rajas is associated with activity, hyperactivity. And tamas is associated with lethargy.
Okay.
Lethargy, apathy. And now these are all pathways, in one sense they are gears like of the mind for us. And when we are too hard on ourselves, that can be good because that can push us to improve ourselves. Being very hard on ourselves can be in the Rajoguna.
Right.
Do better. But if we are too hard on ourselves, we can't sustain that and we go down to Tamoguna. And there we feel, I want to be the best in this field and I'll push myself. If I can't be the best, I will not even try anything at all.
Yes.
So that's the all or nothing kind of approach.
Right.
So when this is what is called as manic depressive personality.
Okay.
Some people, when they are in the manic phase, there's so much energy, they feel I can shake the whole world. But then one thing goes wrong, second thing goes wrong, third thing goes wrong. They get so depressed, the whole world can't shake them from under their bedsheet in the bed. Just want to live here only. So instead of, to avoid this, the sattva approach is try to create some structure in your life. Some structure means have some fixed time of waking up, have some fixed time of taking food, have some fixed times, create some level of structure in your life.
Discipline.
Yeah. I say discipline, I would prefer not to use that word.
Okay.
Because discipline refers to a conscious act of willpower.
All right.
But what I'm talking about structure is some plan we create. Now, not everything, like say sleeping at a particular time, waking up at a particular time. It's not that it requires a huge amount of willpower.
That's right.
So yeah, maybe doing a workout, doing meditation, that may require some discipline. But just like we have structures, say if you're going to college, if you're going to work, you go to office at this time, you work till this time. That's a structure.
There's a structure, right.
So like that, try to have some structures in your life.
Right.
And then what happens, you see, we may rise to our goals on sometimes in our life. But that requires a lot of willpower. Rise to our goals, our standards, our levels of excellence that we want to.
That's right.
But at other times, we don't want to go to zero. So it's like we want to, even if in our low times, we come down to the level of our structures. What do I mean by that? Like say, if somebody is going to work for 8 hours a day, then in 8 hours, they'll do at least some work, 3, 4, 5 hours, some work will do.
Right.
Some days they will be in peak performance zone, and maybe in 8 hours they would do work which would otherwise have taken the 80 hours.
Right.
But what happens is that we can't control. But there's some basic level we can do. So like I write on the Gita every day one article. So now when I started writing, my writing guru, one of my spiritual teachers, he told me that, you can write when you feel inspired. Okay. And probably in a year you will write maybe 10-15 good articles. But if you write every day, still you may write only 10-15 great articles. But you will also write about 200 good articles.
Right.
And then you may write 100 articles which are mediocre.
Okay.
But overall your productivity will increase. So I would say start with one of the characters of sattva is just create some structure in your life. Each individual can decide what level of structure works for me. It shouldn't be too suffocating. It should not be too emptying our life to do whatever we want.
Right.
So like if you're going to scroll on social media.
Okay.
If I have a full weekend and I have nothing planned out, then I may start scrolling and may spend the whole day in that only.
Yeah.
Whole week in that weekend I might feel in that. So instead, just have some structure. Okay, in the morning I'll be doing this, afternoon I'll do this. And that way, we'll be able to avoid the extremes of our emotions.
Yes. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Now comes the next question, which is, so Prabhuji, you have written extensively on Gita, like you just shared. So on GitaDaily.com, I believe you have close to 5,000 articles there, maybe more than that. So Prabhuji, which verse do you feel speaks most strongly to Gen Zs today? And why do you think that?
Two verses, I would say 6.5. Uddhared atmanatmanam natmanavasadayet atmayoya atmanobandhur atmayvari pratmana. Elevate yourself with yourself. Don't degrade yourself with yourself.
Wow.
You can be your best friend or you can be your worst enemy. What that means is that the Gita says inside us, it's almost like there are multiple people.
Right.
And there is our higher self and there's a lower self.
Yes.
So now the Gita is saying that with the higher self, lift up the lower self.
Right.
Don't let the lower self drag the higher self down. So what the point I like about this verse is that it does not deny or demonize the lower self. That is there, and it doesn't say kill it, destroy it. It says that actually you also need to understand it and elevate it.
Right.
So this can help because the Gen Z is a lot about authenticity. Now this is who I am.
Right.
But your lower self is not who you are. So often our lower self comes out in our worst moments, maybe when we are private, when nobody's watching.
Yes.
And sometimes we do something which is so shocking that we try to cover it up. Or if we can't cover up it, we feel so embarrassed. I feel I want to die right now.
Yes.
I think I'm such a terrible person. And our higher self, we sometimes may be very brilliant.
Right.
But then what happens is, if we cannot replicate that, we start thinking, it was just a flash in the pan. I said, I'm never going to be like that again.
Right.
So, identifying too much with our higher self or too much with our lower self, both can be a problem. So, they both are parts of us. Now, if we accept there is a side of me which is positive, there is a side of me which is not so positive. But we can elevate both of them together. So that sense of authenticity is not thinking that I am my best self, no, not thinking that I am the worst self.
Worst self.
But both of them are there, and if both of them can be elevated together, then authenticity should not lead to identifying only with the higher self. That will lead to hypocrisy because I'm denying the lower self.
Right.
And authenticity should not lead to anarchy, where I just act according to my lower self and don't try to elevate myself also.
That's right.
So that's, I feel, one of the most relevant verses to how spirituality becomes real in your life.
Wow. Okay. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for sharing. So now comes the most interesting part of this podcast, which is a rapid fire round. So Prabhuji, I'll ask you a few questions and please bless us with your wisdom. Okay. So the first question is, one habit Gen Z needs most?
Self-awareness.
Self-awareness.
Social media has given them world awareness, but connecting with oneself and one's own inner world and inner values, that's what is very much needed.
Wow. Prabhuji, second question. One strength Gen Z already has?
Open-mindedness. Rather than being attached to previous conception structures, they're very open to whatever makes sense.
Okay. One emotion to master?
Curiosity.
Okay. One inner enemy and one inner friend?
Inner enemy is perfectionism.
Okay.
One inner friend is our conscience. Conscience actually connects us with the divine inside us.
That's right. Okay. One question every Gen Z should ask.
What are the gifts that I have, rather than what are the gifts that are valued by the world? Start inside out rather than outside in.
Okay. Next, one cure for comparison.
Gratitude journal. We say count your blessings and make your blessings count.
Okay. Now, the last question, one practice for clarity of purpose of life.
Journaling, I would say journaling can help in understanding what really matters for us. See, actually, journaling is a way to live our life a second time.
Okay.
We go through emotions, we go through situations, but when we revisit our life, then we can understand ourselves better.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji, for sharing your wisdom with such simplicity and depth. And to everyone watching us today, may this conversation stay with you. Not something to remember, but something to reflect on. Thank you for watching us. Hare Krishna.